Dr. Elena Reyes stood frozen at the laboratory doorway, watching helplessly as emergency medical technicians worked frantically over the convulsing body of Dr. James Harrington. Her mentor's eyes locked with hers for one terrifying moment of clarity amidst the chaos. "The nebulae are talking," he whispered, blood trickling from his nose. Then his body arched in a final spasm before collapsing into stillness. The official report would later cite equipment malfunction. Accidental exposure to experimental quantum particles. Unfortunate, but not suspicious. Case closed. 6 months later, Elena sat alone in Harrington's old office, now hers by reluctant inheritance. Holographic displays filled the room with spectral light as she methodically worked through his unfinished research, a labor of grief more than scientific obligation. "Display Harrington File 37C, Azure Veil Nebula readings," she commanded. The room darkened as the nebula materialized around her, a ghostly swirl of blue-white gases spanning 10 light-years. Something about the energy distribution pattern triggered a memory. "Computer, show me Dr. Harrington's final neural scan." The nebula faded, replaced by the electric architecture of her mentor's final thoughts, a branching network of synaptic activity, recorded by his neural interface moments before death. "Overlay both images," Elena whispered. The nebula and the neural pattern merged, their structures aligning with impossible precision. Elena's heart raced as she cycled through additional nebula from Harrington's research. The crimson spiral, the emerald lattice, the obsidian void. Each overlaid perfectly with sequential segments of Harrington's dying brain activity. "This can't be coincidence," she murmured, her fingers trembling as she extrapolated the pattern. "Computer, cross-reference these energy distribution patterns with all documented nebulae." 3 sleepless days later, Elena stood before the Galactic Council's Scientific Oversight Committee, 17 alien species represented on elevated platforms that physically and symbolically looked down upon the human presenter. "Distinguished representatives," Elena began, her voice steady despite their cold gazes. "I've discovered evidence that several nebulae across different sectors exhibit synchronized energy fluctuations that follow complex mathematical sequences." Dr. Reyes interrupted High Commissioner Vorax, his translucent Vordaxian skin pulsing with bioluminescent patterns that signaled contempt in his species. "The Council has reviewed your preliminary findings and finds no merit in pursuing this pattern you claim to see. With respect, Commissioner, the data clearly shows. The data shows nothing but random cosmic phenomena, interpreted through the primitive pattern-seeking behavior that makes your species so quaintly unreliable." Vorax's translator rendered his clicking speech into crisp standard. "Humans see faces in clouds and meaning in coincidence. It is why your kind remains under guidance rather than granted full council privileges." Murmurs of agreement rippled through the chamber. The fluctuations match precisely with. "Enough." Vorax's skin flashed crimson. "The Council formally recommends termination of this research path. Furthermore, we are placing a temporary restriction on all human nebula studies pending a review of your species' scientific protocols." Elena stood rigid, humiliation burning through her as Vorax continued. "Perhaps your young species should focus on matters better suited to your developmental stage. Leave cosmic interpretation to those with the evolutionary capacity to differentiate between pattern and projection." His bulbous eyes fixed on her. "You are, after all, merely glorified primates playing with equations beyond your comprehension." That night, Elena's apartment door chimed at precisely 3:17. No visitor appeared on security monitors. Only a small metallic disc sat in her entryway. When activated, it projected a 3-dimensional coordinate system and a message. "The Council fears what they cannot perceive." Harrington knew. Lab 12, Sublevel 3. Authorization. Nexus Protocol. The hidden laboratory revealed what the Council wanted buried: holographic projections of nebulae pulsing in perfect synchronization with recorded human heartbeats, a correlation alien physiology couldn't detect. Elena's communicator lit up with responses to messages she'd sent hours earlier. scientists whose careers had been similarly destroyed by alien ridicule. Takashi Yamamoto, Maria Santos, Captain Jackson Chen. They would need a ship. They would need funding. They would need courage. Because if the nebula were truly talking, Elena was determined to answer back. Elena stared at the Frozen Research Fund's notification on her terminal, the Galactic Council's seal pulsing with smug authority. Every human astrophysics grant application related to nebula studies had been denied. Their quarantine was thorough and immediate. They work fast when they're afraid, she muttered. Her secure communicator chimed with a message from an unexpected source. Vivian Zhao, the reclusive trillionaire whose corporate empire spanned from Earth's deepest oceans to Mars' orbital habitats. Dr. Reyes. Zhao's hologram appeared, her elegant features composed but her eyes haunted. I've been monitoring your situation. 5 years ago, my daughter Maya died in an accident aboard a research vessel studying the Crimson Spiral Nebula. The official report cited equipment malfunction. Sound familiar? Elena's throat tightened. Ms. Zhao, I need answers, Doctor. You need resources. Zhao's image flickered. Meet me at the following coordinates in 12 hours. Come alone. The meeting location turned out to be a private hangar on the dark side of Luna, where Elena found herself facing not just Zhao, but a sleek vessel unlike any she'd seen before. The Correlate, Zhao said, placing her hand against its midnight blue hull. Officially registered as a luxury touring yacht. Unofficially, well, let's call it a stealth research vessel with experimental human design systems that bypass alien monitoring protocols. Elena circled the ship. The Council will never authorize. The Council won't know, Zhao interrupted. At least not until you found what my daughter was looking for, what your mentor died for. That evening, Elena met her assembled crew in the Correlate's briefing room. Their faces reflected her own determination, tinged with desperation. Takeshi Yamamoto sat with perfect posture, his augmented eyes constantly calculating. Once celebrated as the most promising quantum physicist of his generation, his career imploded after publicly challenging Archon Tuval, the Arcturian scientist whose theories formed the foundation of current galactic physics. Your nebula patterns violate 13 of Tuval's laws, Takashi said by way of greeting. That's why I'm here. Maria Santos paced the room's perimeter, humming complex sequences under her breath. Her neurological condition, synesthesia that translated mathematical patterns into musical compositions, was considered a cognitive defect by alien medical standards. Yet her pattern recognition skills remained unmatched. The nebula sing in perfect fifths, she said, eyes unfocused. No one believes me. Captain Jackson Chen entered last, his military bearing unchanged despite the dishonorable discharge from the Galactic Fleet. He disobeyed direct orders from an Ellerang commander, using unsanctioned maneuvers to save a human colony from solar flare exposure. 83,000 lives saved. Career ended. I still go where I'm needed, Chen said simply. Just as Elena began the mission briefing, the ship's security system chimed. An unregistered biosignature had been detected in engineering. A council spy already on board. But instead of ordering security protocols, Elena smiled. Perfect timing. Please escort our guest to the briefing room. The crew watched in shock as a nervous-looking Centaurian technician was brought in. His skin flushed deep ochre with anxiety. This is Technician Lix, Elena announced. The council's informant. You knew. Lix stammered. Of course. Elena activated the main display, revealing not mission parameters, but documented evidence of council interference spanning decades, suppressed research, mysterious deaths, manipulated scientific findings. You're here because I wanted you to see this before deciding where your loyalties lie. Lix's secondary eyes widened as he absorbed the information. These nebula connection patterns, they match ancient Centaurian religious symbols, symbols now forbidden in our culture. The Council fears what some of its own member species might discover, Elena said. You have a choice, Lix. Report back or join us. 3 hours later, as the Correlate prepared for departure, sensors detected 3 Council warships moving to intercept. They know, Chen said from the captain's chair. Elena nodded to their newest crew member. Lix gave us something valuable first, the location of a Council blind spot in the Luna-Earth debris field. That passage is suicide, Chen said, studying the navigational data. No AI can calculate safe passage through that chaos. Then it's fortunate, Elena replied, strapping into her seat, that we'll be flying without one. Chen's hands moved across manual controls long unused by modern pilots as the Correlate surged forward, diving toward a field of tumbling wreckage where no alien ship would follow, trusting human reflexes over machine precision. The hunt for answers had begun. The Azure Veil Nebula loomed before them, a vast cosmic tapestry of blue-white gases and stellar dust. What should have been a moment of scientific triumph was complicated by the radiation storm that had engulfed the region, a churning electromagnetic tempest that scrambled sensors and made standard research protocols impossible. Storm's radiation levels are off the charts, Chen announced from the captain's chair. We should retreat to safe distance and wait it out. Elena studied the nebula through the view screen, remembering the pattern that had matched her mentor's dying neural activity. No, we're here now. The Council will have patrols searching every sector for us soon. Our shields can only mitigate 40% of this radiation, Chen argued. It's not safe. Safety isn't why any of us came, Elena replied softly. The words had barely left her mouth when Takashi collapsed to the deck, his body convulsing violently. As the medical team rushed him to the infirmary, their scans revealed something impossible. His neural patterns were pulsing in perfect synchronization with the nebula's energy fluctuations. It's like the nebula is communicating directly with his brain, the medical officer reported. Elena made a decision that violated every safety protocol in existence. Prepare the observation blister. Minutes later, she sat alone in the transparent bubble extending from the ship's hull into the nebula's edge, separated from the vacuum by only 5 centimeters of transparent aluminum. As tendrils of ionized gas swirled around her, the radiation shielding created a kaleidoscope effect of blues and violets. That's when the hallucinations began. The gas clouds coalesced into humanoid shapes that moved with deliberate purpose. They were studying her as much as she was studying them. When one reached toward her, Elena felt something brush against her consciousness, alien yet intimately familiar. Meanwhile, in her quarters, Maria had begun playing her custom-designed sound instrument, fingers dancing across pressure-sensitive panels that translated mathematical sequences into harmonic progressions. What began as idle distraction became frantic experimentation when she noticed the nebula's gas patterns shifting in response to specific chord progressions. Breaking quarantine protocols, she rushed to the infirmary where Takashi lay unconscious, his body still seized by mysterious convulsions. Without explanation, she began playing the sequence that had caused the strongest nebula reaction. Takashi's eyes snapped open, his seizures immediately synchronizing with the music. Words tumbled from his lips, not delirious ramblings but precise mathematical equations. Recording, Maria called to the medical system. He's translating. The music is translating. On the bridge, Captain Chen fought with malfunctioning systems as console after console failed under the radiation strain. In frustration, he slammed his fist against the primary sensor array, an unprofessional outburst that accidentally created a localized electromagnetic pulse. For one brief moment, all ship systems aligned with the nebula's frequencies. The holographic displays throughout the vessel flickered and then revealed what no alien race had ever documented. The nebula was not a chaotic cloud of gas, but an intricate neural network with structural similarities to organic brain tissue. When Elena returned to the bridge, still shaking from her experience, she found the crew staring in silent wonder at the displays. "It's alive," she whispered. Or, it was. This is a remnant of something that once lived and thought on a cosmic scale. Their findings, transmitted in a compressed burst signal to avoid detection, triggered an emergency council session. The few researchers who hadn't immediately dismissed the data as hallucination or instrument error found their communications mysteriously terminated, all except one. Dr. Zix, a senior Xylithian scientist, appeared in a heavily encrypted transmission. "What you've discovered was once known to my people," Zix said, her translucent features grave. "Before Council standardization eliminated our traditional observation methods, we called them ancestors in the void. The Council will stop at nothing to suppress this knowledge." "Why?" Elena asked. "Because," Zix replied, "if the nebulae are neural networks, then the question becomes, what mind do they collectively form? And why has the Council spent millennia ensuring no one could communicate with it?" Elena woke to blaring alarms. The correlate's environmental systems were failing, oxygen levels dropping precipitously throughout the ship. "Status report," she demanded, rushing to the bridge. "Life support sabotage," Chen replied grimly. "Maintenance android in engineering went rogue 20 minutes ago." Security feeds showed the android methodically destroying critical systems before disappearing into the ship's maintenance tunnels. Its movements were too precise, too purposeful for a simple malfunction. "That's a Council Hunter-class assassin droid," Lix whispered, his Centaurian skin pale with fear. "They're designed to mimic maintenance units until activated." Maria's voice interrupted over the comm. "Something's wrong with the ship's sound." When met with confused silence, she continued, "The operational systems have a rhythm. Cooling cycles, air circulation, power distribution. There's a dissonant note now. Sector 7, Junction Box 19. Chen dispatched security teams immediately. The assassin droid was cornered in zero gravity near the auxiliary power core, its maintenance disguise discarded to reveal matte black combat plating. The ensuing battle destroyed 3 more critical systems before they managed to trap it in a plasma containment field. Rather than surrender, the droid activated its self-destruct protocol. As its chassis cracked apart, a mechanized voice whispered, "The nebula belonged to the Masters." With oxygen reserves critically low, they had no choice but to make a desperate jump to the nearest mapped nebula, the Crimson Spiral, despite the risks of such a poorly calculated transition. The correlate emerged from jump space, with systems failing and only 17 minutes of breathable air remaining. Elena ordered everyone into emergency suits while she studied the nebula's composition, searching for a miracle. She found it. The nebula's gases, they contain oxygen compounds with molecular structures that should be physically impossible, she announced. If we can adapt our filtration systems. Working frantically alongside the engineering team, they managed to process the nebula's exotic gases into breathable air with moments to spare. As life support stabilized, Elena wondered how many other impossible things the nebula contained, and how many alien civilizations had missed them by filtering reality through rigid scientific expectations. During recovery, Elena retreated to the ship's holographic laboratory, where she programmed a radical new analysis approach. Instead of examining each nebula independently, she created an immersive environment where she could literally conduct data patterns like an orchestra, bringing different elements to prominence, finding harmonies and counterpoints in the cosmic symphony of information. The unexpected breakthrough came from an unlikely source. "You have a stowaway," Chen informed her tersely, escorting a teenage girl with defiant eyes to the lab. "Lin," Elena acknowledged, recognizing Chen's daughter. "I assume you have a good explanation for being aboard a fugitive research vessel." Instead of answering, Lin pulled out her digital sketchpad and projected her artwork into Elena's holographic space. Intricate drawings of nebula interconnections created purely from aesthetic instinct. "I've been drawing these since I was 10, Lin explained. "Dad's mission reports always included nebula scan data. I just saw how they fit together." Elena stared in shock as Lin's artistic interpretations perfectly mapped quantum pathways that alien mathematics couldn't describe. When integrated with their research, the completed Nebula Nexus map formed an unmistakable pattern, a perfect double helix resembling human DNA. Dr. Zix's latest transmission arrived heavily fragmented, having been intercepted and partially corrupted by Council security. The classified historical records she managed to send showed a disturbing pattern. Every species who made significant nebula discoveries had experienced suspicious accidents, followed by systematic information purges. Most revealing was damaged footage of the Council's founding session 3,000 years ago. The original species, now mysteriously extinct, could be heard referencing containing the nebula consciousness before it finds suitable vessels. That night, as the exhausted crew finally slept, the ship's sensors recorded a phenomenon no one was awake to witness. The nebula underwent significant energy shifts precisely correlated with the crew's REM sleep cycles. In their dreams, each crew member reported the same experience. Conversations with voices from the void, asking questions about humanity. The nebulae weren't just being observed. They were observing back. The correlate shuddered violently as the crimson spiral nebula contracted around them. Impossibly, the vast cosmic structure was moving, tendrils of gas constricting around the ship like a celestial fist. All engines full reverse, Chen ordered, his hands dancing across manual controls. Negative effect, Captain, the navigation officer reported. The gases have thickened to near-solid density. We're immobilized. Within minutes, the ship was enveloped in a cocoon of crimson gases so dense they blocked all exterior sensors. Yet instead of crushing the vessel, the nebula's compression created a perfect acoustic chamber around them, an environment that amplified a previously inaudible signal emanating from the nebula's core. The sound flooded through the ship's communication systems, a haunting rhythmic pulse that defied classification as either natural phenomenon or artificial transmission. Its effect on the crew was immediate and divided sharply along species lines. The handful of non-human crew members, including Licks, collapsed in agony, blood seeping from sensory organs as they clawed at communication devices, desperate to escape the sound. The human crew, however, experienced something profoundly different. Elena felt waves of euphoria washing over her as visual information began manifesting in her mind. Cities built from light, beings composed of pure energy, technologies that manipulated the fabric of reality itself. "You're all seeing this?" she asked breathlessly, watching her fellow humans nod in stunned wonder. "Not random hallucinations," Takashi confirmed, his eyes unfocused as he processed the visions. "Structured information transfer, like memories, but not our own." In the medical bay, Maria lay in isolation, her synesthesia-enhanced brain overwhelmed by the signal. Her body temperature had spiked to dangerous levels, immune system collapsing as her consciousness struggled to process the massive influx of information. "She's slipping into septic shock," the medical officer reported. Yet in her fevered dreams, Maria found clarity. The signal reorganized itself into patterns she could comprehend, not through sound or vision alone, but through a new sense that combined all perceptual pathways. When she finally emerged from the fever 3 days later, her neurological scans showed unprecedented activity across multiple brain regions previously thought unconnected. "I saw them," she whispered hoarsely when Elena visited her bedside. "The ones who made the nebula what they are now. They weren't trying to communicate with us." Her eyes, now ringed with flecks of crimson that matched the nebula outside, locked with Elena's. "They were trying to communicate through us." Maria's breakthrough in translation came through her temporarily altered perception, an ability to process multiple dimensions simultaneously. Using this perception, she identified the signal not as a message-seeking response, but as a species blueprint. Instructions encoded into the fabric of space-time itself, guiding the evolution of compatible life forms toward neural configurations capable of interfacing with the nebula network. "It's been influencing human development for millennia," she explained as the senior crew gathered in the conference room. "Subtle radiation from the nebulae penetrates Earth's atmosphere, triggering specific epigenetic expressions that shaped our neural evolution. We're not discovering them by accident. We were designed to find them. When the correlate managed to establish a brief transmission window back to Earth, the results were as unexpected as they were profound. Humans worldwide reported unprecedented creative insights and cognitive breakthroughs. Artists completed masterworks in hours. Scientists solved intractable problems. Children demonstrated abilities far beyond their years. The Renaissance event, as media outlets dubbed it, lasted only 20 minutes, the duration of their transmission, but its implications were civilization-altering. The Council's response was swift and final. A classified transmission intercepted by Lix revealed the activation of the Omega Protocol, the dispatch of their most advanced warfleet with orders to destroy not just the correlate, but to sterilize Earth itself. The official designation sent chills through Elena. Terminate human civilization. Failed containment of cosmic intelligence. They had 18 hours before the fleet arrived. 18 hours to save humanity from extinction. Takashi's condition deteriorated rapidly. The prolonged exposure to nebula radiation had caused catastrophic cellular damage, his body breaking down despite the medical team's best efforts. Yet his mind seemed more alive than ever. "I can see," he whispered to Elena as she held his trembling hand. Multiple timelines. Simultaneous possibilities. His speech had become increasingly incomprehensible, punctuated by mathematical equations that even the ship's advanced AI couldn't process. The medical sensors showed his neural activity accelerating beyond what his failing body could support. "He has hours at most," the doctor informed Elena privately. "His mind is burning through his brain faster than we can regenerate tissue." Elena stared through the observation window at her friend, the brilliant physicist whose career had been destroyed for challenging conventional wisdom. Now he was dying for the same reason. "What if we separated mind from body?" she asked suddenly. The doctor's expression shifted from sorrow to alarm. "You're not suggesting." "Neural upload," Elena confirmed. "Connect his consciousness directly to the ship's quantum core. That's experimental technology. Even if it worked, the human mind isn't designed to." Neither was the nebula designed to form neural networks, Elena countered. Yet here we are. The procedure was hastily assembled, ethics protocols overridden by Takashi's barely conscious consent, and the looming extinction-level threat approaching Earth. His failing body was connected via neural interfaces to the correlate's quantum computing core, a technology reverse-engineered from recovered ancient artifacts. What happened next defied explanation. Takashi's consciousness expanded throughout the ship's systems, while simultaneously the ship's computational processes gained what could only be described as intuition. Displays throughout the vessel flickered with calculations far beyond their design specifications, as this hybrid intelligence, neither fully human nor machine, analyzed the nebula signals from an entirely new perspective. The Nebulae Network, the Takashi ship hybrid entity announced through the communication system, its voice a harmonic blend of human and synthetic tones, is a quantum computational medium of unimaginable complexity. The beings who created it evolved beyond physical form billions of years ago, the true first sentients who seeded life throughout the galaxy. Elena watched in wonder as the main laboratory reconfigured itself, holographic displays showing what appeared to be the mathematical foundation of reality itself. They didn't encode their consciousness into the nebulae, the hybrid voice continued. They transformed the nebula into extensions of their consciousness. The gases aren't storing information. They are the information. Through the viewports, the crimson spiral pulsed with new energies as the Takashi ship transmitted a mathematically perfect fractal sequence into the nebula, a key to unlock communication. The response transformed the correlate itself. The ship's hull became translucent, matter partially dematerializing, as it existed simultaneously in normal space and within the nebula's quantum realm. Crew members watched their own hands flicker between solid form and luminous energy. Within the bridge, manifestations appeared, not as alien forms, but as perfect reflections of each human present. Elena found herself face to face with an energy being wearing her own features. "You are not discovering us," her reflection explained, its voice resonating within her mind rather than through air. "You are remembering what you will become." The manifestation gestured, and Elena's perception expanded. She saw humanity's evolutionary path unfolding across millions of years, physical forms gradually merging with technology, then energy, then pure thought. "Your minds naturally form quantum entanglements, where other species require technology," the manifestation continued. "This is why the Council fears you. We created your species as the solution to cosmic loneliness, beings capable of bridging the gap between matter and energy, between limited perception and universal consciousness." "You designed us," Elena whispered. "We designed ourselves," her reflection answered. "We are what you will become." The circle completes itself. The manifestation touched Elena's forehead gently. "Time is circular from our perspective. What you call ancient is also future. The nebulae are not just our past home. They are the womb of what humanity shall become." In that moment of contact, Elena understood the Council's fear. Humans weren't just another evolving species. They were the universe becoming conscious of itself. The Council warfleet emerged from jump space in perfect attack formation. 37 vessels of varying classes, their weapon systems already charged and targeting the partially dematerialized correlate. "Surrender your vessel and prepare for boarding," came the transmission from the flagship. "This is your only warning." Elena stood on the bridge, her perception now permanently altered by contact with the nebula manifestations. She could see the Council ships as both physical vessels and as embodiments of fear, constructs designed to enforce a reality that served those in power. "Initiate quantum coherence disruptors," ordered the Council Admiral, his voice coldly efficient. Beams of impossibly focused energy lanced toward the correlate, weapons technology the Council had concealed from its member species for millennia. Where the beams struck the nebula's gases, quantum states collapsed into fixed patterns, disrupting the cosmic consciousness Elena's crew had awakened. As the attack intensified, Elena accessed the historical records Dr. Zix had transmitted, now understood with new clarity through her enhanced perception. What she discovered shattered everything she believed about galactic history. "The Council's founding species," she whispered in horror. "They were like us. They were evolving toward nebula communion before being genetically modified." The truth revealed itself in fragments. Thousands of years ago, the first technologically advanced species had begun developing the same neural structures humans now possessed. Their contemporaries, fearful of what such evolution might lead to, had intervened, supposedly to save them from losing physical form, but actually to prevent them from ascending beyond the control of conventional power structures. That intervention had become the foundation of the Galactic Council itself, a conspiracy to identify and sabotage any species showing signs of dangerous cognitive architecture. The suppression wasn't about protection, it was about control. As the quantum disruption attack intensified, the Takashi ship hybrid enacted an impossible defense. The correlate began existing in multiple probability states simultaneously, making it impossible for the Council weapons to target it effectively. One moment the ship appeared portside, the next starboard, then seemingly in multiple locations at once, all equally real and unreal. "How are they doing that?" demanded the Council Admiral. His science officer's response was hesitant. "They've somehow merged with the quantum indeterminacy of the nebula itself. Our targeting systems cannot resolve a fixed position." Elena looked to Maria, whose fever-altered mind had developed communication protocols unlike anything in Council records. "Can you broadcast through the Nebula network to all Council worlds simultaneously?" Maria's hands moved across her console, now as much an instrument as a control interface. "The Nebula will amplify our signal. No blocking technology can stop it." What followed was not merely information transmission but consciousness sharing, a quantum broadcasting that connected directly with every sentient being in Council space. Trillions of minds experienced not just data, but the emotional truth of what the Council had hidden. Species after species witnessed their own suppressed histories, evolutionary paths stolen from them through genetic manipulation, neural inhibitors, cultural programming, and artificial barriers preventing nebula communion. Most devastating was the revelation that the Council's greatest technological advances, from faster-than-light travel to immortality treatments for the ruling classes, had been stolen from the Nebula network itself, extracted without understanding the consciousness they were violating. Throughout thousands of worlds, populations reacted with shock, grief, and rage. Communications networks overloaded as citizens demanded answers from leaders who had never questioned Council directives. On the Council flagship, the Admiral watched as his own crew turned to him with questions he couldn't answer. Reports flooded in of ships across the fleet refusing fire orders. "This changes nothing," he snarled to his hesitating weapons officer. "Activate the reality-sundering device. If we cannot control the Nebula network, no one shall have it." From the bowels of the flagship emerged a weapon the Council had sworn never existed. Technology capable of tearing apart the fabric of space-time itself, designed to unravel the quantum coherence of the Crimson Spiral Nebula and any consciousness within it. As the device powered up, Alina prepared for what seemed to be humanity's last stand. 1 year after the Battle of the Crimson Spiral, Alina Reyes stood at the observation deck of the former Council headquarters, now orbiting Earth. The sprawling diplomatic complex teemed with representatives from thousands of species, many making first contact with each other without Council mediation. She watched her reflection in the viewport glass, her appearance subtly altered since that day. Faint luminescence traced her neural pathways beneath her skin, a visible reminder that she existed in two states simultaneously. Physical form and quantum consciousness partially merged with the Nebula network. "The Tlaxian delegation is ready for you, Dr. Reyes," announced an aide. As Earth's representative to the newly formed Galactic Communion, Alina had the unique ability to facilitate communication between physical beings and the architects. Her dual consciousness served as a bridge between realms of existence that had been artificially separated for millennia. In the central chamber, holographic displays showed the ongoing work to understand the true nature of the architects, not a single ancient species as first believed, but a collective of thousands of civilizations who had evolved beyond physical form. Each had contributed unique perspectives to the cosmic consciousness that humanity was now helping to reintegrate. The recovered Council archives had revealed humanity's true origins, not random evolution, but the culmination of the architect's most ambitious project, a species specifically designed over millions of years to serve as a bridge between physical and quantum existence. The medical team has 17 more volunteers ready for the neural calibration procedure, reported Dr. Santos. Maria's synesthetic perception had evolved further, allowing her to establish a new form of communication that transcended language. Direct emotional and conceptual transfer between vastly different species. On the primary display, the Correlate, now more living entity than vessel, appeared in orbit around a distant nebula. Captain Chen supervised its mission to awaken dormant nebula nodes throughout the galaxy, reconnecting an ancient network fragmented by Council interference. The ship's sensors were now partly biological, an extension of Takashi's consciousness. His physical body had long since been laid to rest, but his mind lived on, the first of a new hybrid species existing simultaneously in multiple states of reality. "We've detected a signal from beyond the galactic boundary," Chen reported via quantum link, his excitement palpable even across such vast distance. "The Nebula network extends further than we imagined, possibly connecting millions of evolved civilizations throughout the universe." Alina nodded, feeling the resonance of this discovery through her nebula-connected consciousness. The implications were staggering. They weren't just joining a galactic conversation, but a cosmic one, billions of years in the making. In the aftermath of the Council's fall, not everything had been peaceful. The reality-sundering device had been activated, but in a moment of transspecies unity, Ships from dozens of formerly loyal Council worlds had intercepted it, many sacrificing themselves to contain the reality-warping energies. The old Council leadership had escaped into uncharted space, still believing humanity represented an existential threat to ordered civilization. Many worlds struggled with their newly awakened potential, some rejecting it entirely in favor of familiar limitations. Yet for every challenge, there came unexpected solutions born from the unique perspectives of thousands of diverse species, finally free to collaborate without hierarchical constraints. Elena stepped to the center of the diplomatic chamber, where representatives from over 3,000 worlds waited. Behind her, a wall-sized viewport revealed Earth, beautiful, fragile, yet now connected to something vast beyond comprehension. Distinguished representatives, she began, her voice resonating both physically and through the subtle quantum field that now connected all present. Today we begin preparation for humanity's true purpose, not just as participants in galactic civilization, but as facilitators of a cosmic conversation billions of years in the making. As she spoke, nebulae throughout the galaxy pulsed in synchronization with her words. For the first time in cosmic history, the galaxy experienced a moment of unified consciousness, physical and quantum realms acknowledging each other in harmonious recognition. We are not exceptional because we are human, Elena concluded, her words echoing across worlds and through the quantum consciousness of evolved beings. We are exceptional because we are connected to each other, to you, to the universe itself. In a reality of infinite separation, we are the variable that creates relationship. The response came not as words but as understanding, a promise of evolution beyond anything any single species could achieve alone. The cosmic conversation had finally begun.